we'll start first with describing the concept of wedding metaphors, and we'll talk about this in context of migrants or the migrant people. Now, the migration happens for essentially a certain reason, and they can be categorized into these three categories of diaspora and exile, post-colonial, or labor migrants based on certain characteristics that are there. For example, let's talk about the reason. There are different reasons for all three of these categories in terms of why they migrated. The diaspora or the exile is essentially an enforced displacement. The post-colonial is in terms of rebellion towards either the colonial masters or against the new government that has come up in their original homeland. Whereas the labor migrants go because in search of economic prospects. Now all these three have different ties with respect to their homeland and with respect to their host country or the colonial countries that they go into. Diaspora exile, they maintain a strong emotional context to their homeland. The post-colonial, they have a sense of national identity or pride, but at the same time they have a tinge of inferiority and envy which have been imposed upon them by their colonial masters. The labor migrants, they are essentially victims of discrimination. What they are trying to do is integrate into the new society that they go into. Again, they all have different aims. The diaspora, they aim to preserve their identity via their strong maintaining their links to homeland. The post-colonialism, they try to resist the colonial mindset. Now all of this essentially reflects in the various themes that are portrayed along these three categories. The diaspora exile have a recurring theme of nostalgia and melancholia. Post-colonialism, they have a theme of resistance and unification. And the labor migrants, they have a theme of exploitation in foreign land. Now all this is represented in the form of wedding metaphors. Let us take the examples of some of the movies in which these metaphors are clearly explained. Let's start with the post-colonial ones. The first movie, Lehrem Dil Mein Usmane, it essentially, the movie contains a wedding scene of Algerian style in Germany. Now, what happens in this movie is that the Algerian culture and traditions are against what Germany stands for. And many of it is deemed as either vulgar or against the German cultures. So the contradiction that happens between these two and how it plays out is depicted in a long wedding sequence in this movie. Rana's wedding is a wedding in Israel against the backdrop of colonialism, against the destruction that has been there in their country. Pride and Prejudice is about resisting the colonial masters and their mindset. It portrays that how the colonial masters are not at the same cultural standards as they are. In terms of labor migrants, Die Fremde is a movie of Turkish migrants in Germany. The Turkish migrants there, they struggled in order to fit into the German culture, and they also struggle with the religious and the social pressures that they face from their own Turkish background. Kebab Connection is a movie based on similar lines, but the end result in this movie is that they are able to integrate into that culture. This is a happy ending movie as compared with Die Fremde, in which the result is that they are not able to mingle into the culture and they are faced with some consequences. Diaspora exile is one very common theme recurring in the Indian movies. Pardes and Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, there are certain examples in which they represent a strong link to their homeland. Now we will move into the managerial context, and Anurag will take it from there.
So, taking the example of metaphors, we will be focusing on how KFC has been able to maintain their local flavor into their products while adapting themselves to the local market or the country in which KFC is going. So, a key ingredient to any of the KFC stores in any country which they go is that they want to maintain a touch with their own hands. So no matter where they go, the main shape of the fried chicken. It is very much associated with the Kentucky homeland from where it was originated. So in a way, KFC is trying to propagate their own culture even if they go to the foreign countries. Why are they doing it? So KFC has found that the recipe of the product is very integral to the brand, and if they try to change the recipe, they will get into there are fears of diluting the brand identity itself. So what they have been trying to do is that they are maintaining close resemblance to the original product. Wherever, in whichever host country they go, the identity is maintained. So some of the things which are happening in their progress is that they are finding cultural differences across nations. So how they are trying to solve these issues is that they are trying to integrate different cultures. They are mainly with the local crowd, the local culture, and trying to integrate both the flavors of the local recipes and the original recipes. For example, one of the examples would be the rice ball KFC advertisement, and that is one of the newer products in which KFC is trying to maintain the local culture, the essence of the Kentucky Fried Chicken, while adapting the entire product to be used by Indian audience. So this is one of their advertisements.
अब सबको करा वेट क्योंकि lunch is so great. Flavorful rice, spicy gravy and crunchy popcorn chicken. KFC का नया rice bowls. That starts at ₹69. So good.
So from this advertisement, you can see that KFC is adapting. They are trying to bring in vegetarian recipes or the rice bowl concept into India, but they are forced to maintain the local touch to the product. Without this, they will not be able to succeed even in India. So that is that previous example was the way how metaphors can be used in advertisements. This is how we are explaining that in an organization context, how multinational firms are forced to resort to some metaphors in order to motivate the employees of the host nation as well as their home nation also. So one of these examples is there is a club Mediterranean, which is one of the original all-inclusive resorts. This company is the one who started the concept of vacation resorts. So they have a very strong focus on their customers. So one of the way the organization works is that they have these JP organizations, the staff members, who offer personalized service to their clients. They look after the recreational activities of the clients. They perform stage shows for them, and they try to maintain a very friendly and homely nature to within the entire resort. So when Club Med started expanding outside Europe in 1965, they needed because their entire focus is to maintain a European culture. Some part of the European influence is always there in all of their resorts. So they needed the home staff to maintain the club culture across the resorts. But when they tried doing it, they found multiple issues because the only motivation for the home staff was the international exposure. But as they became disillusioned, they found that they were facing troubles in keeping the staff motivated to remain with them for multiple years. So what they did that the stage performances which the club GOs did were in a way aligned to or you can say adapted to the performances of their home nations. So some cultural identities, some cultural ideas of the home nation's norms or home nation's culture were basically implemented by these GOs whenever they were performing some of the club activities every day. So here's an example of that.
Showcase the European roots and showcasing the European experience that they want to give to the customers, even though they go to different countries like China and USA. They try to maintain this European touch of it.
So in the managerial context, we can say that any organization culture, there is one other definition that an organization's culture can be considered to be a model of norms, values and beliefs which actually affect the behavior of the employees. So what we have seen is that the national culture always has a very significant influence on the way an organization performs. So this culture manifests through multiple channels, with different ways in which the culture is propagated within an organization through its employees, through some very tiny minute things which are not really noticed, but they actually end up having a very significant impact. So all of this results into the behaviors of the employees, and this behavior at times is the main reason why an organization succeeds. So whenever an organization tries to expand, they always have these multicultural issues, like adapting to different cultures is always an issue for a multinational firm. So they have to find a way to sustain their culture, their home culture, even in the foreign lands, because that culture is the main reason why this organization actually succeeded in the first place. So, but at the same time, we also need to maintain a balance with the culture of the home, with the culture of the local country which they are going. So, a very significant balance needs to be maintained, that in order to keep the employees of both the home country and the local country motivated, they need to incorporate some cultural values within the entire organization. So this is the framework which we have suggested for doing this.
So we saw how different intricacies of culture play and how companies depend on it. So studying the article and the KFC example, etc., we found the gap that organizations need some kind of tool to apply so that they can better understand the host countries' cultures and how they can mediate the cultural differences. So we come up with the MAMBO framework. What is the MAMBO framework? Metaphor application in managing business organization. That is the MAMBO framework. Since we are talking about metaphors, the name itself is a metaphor. MAMBO. MAMBO is a style of dance where there is the lead and usually the male, and the female follows the lead of the male. So if you want to take the lead and you want to make them dance to your tunes, you follow the MAMBO framework. So what are these applicable for? Multicultural, transnational, multinational companies where you have lots of different cultures mingling and there is bound to be friction. And the application does not only limit to employees within the organization, designing of various HR activities, but it can also be extended to products, customers, advertising, everything. So in short, it's intercultural management through metaphors. Intercultural management is, it's talked about a lot these days because globalization, etc. There is no such company which can exist only within the country. At some point of time in their growth curve, they have to look for opportunities outside the country. So the MAMBO framework is very essential and very relevant in the contemporary world where companies are looking for opportunities outside their own homeland. So how does the MAMBO work? So you can see this is a diagram from Hofstede framework. So Hofstede framework, you must have, if you remember, you might have come across in your PS classes where they say certain dimensions about measuring how cultures are different. So dimensions like power distance index, individualism versus collectivism, etc. etc. So these are all indices using which we can put some numbers to define a culture. So what we do is we take those indices and we do some further processing so that we can give you a proper tool to help you perform well in a multicultural scenario. So the basic philosophy of Hofstede's dimensions is that you have a set of cultural values in any particular culture. They are not defined. They are not like the 10 commandments where you go somewhere and read it. So they are manifested in the form of symbols, heroes and rituals. Symbols are the language you use, any gesture you use, etc. Heroes are model actors who follow the culture to the, follow all the aspects of the culture, and they are seen as heroes, as role models for the culture. And rituals as such, like in this case the marriage, etc., where people gather and perform some act which is identity for the culture. So the values as such are ramified in reality in terms of symbols, heroes and rituals. And where we come in is, so your company has a set of values, but where you are going, the external environment has another set of values. How you can mediate the differences is by modifying these things, symbols, heroes and rituals. That's where the map of frameworks comes in. So what we do, we analyze, we measure different indices of the map of framework, then we employ different metaphors. So these are typical metaphors used in advertising and in the business space, conceptual, structural, ontological metaphors, etc. And then we apply the map of framework to design, say for FMCG food, where you want to design the visual merchandising in a shop floor. So map of framework can be applied there. If you want to design TV commercial for a product like the KFC ad, there it can be applied. For designing of office space and communication module and SOPs, these are all employee related things which the map of framework can apply. So the Hofstede dimensions so they are just numbers which help you understand what a culture is. But the physical meaning can be different. Like for example, how I am talking to you now, I am talking behind the desk. This is a power distance. In the same way, if I talk to you coming out from the desk, so this is less power distance. So these are the physical implications or the metaphors acting out in the reality in the manifest. So the methodology is that we first identify the cultural and ideological indices of the target. So we give on the baseline of say a percentage or a pen, we give points to each culture, where the company is from and which target it would be, and identify key differences between the target itself. So we say for example individualism versus collectivism. Eastern countries are generally considered collectivistic than Western, etc. So we find the differences, main differences, and then we link the indices to the relevant metaphorical technique. So this is done in parts. If you are doing it in advertising, physical space between the actors of the ad can be metaphor for the individualism versus collectivism differences in the culture. So then we design advertisements, processes, etc., employing these metaphors using the map of framework, and determine where you can incorporate these traditions up to the maximum effect and minimize difficulty in integration.
Here we take a couple of examples to showcase how these various parameters of judging the culture can be used. Let's start with individualism versus collectivism. Now, if I stand within 1 feet of a total stranger, that if I stand like this, if I don't know him at all, so this is something that is not socially acceptable in most places. So Edward Hall's reaction bubble is an average description of how much space is required for different relations. Like for example, it says that if you have a personal, for the personal space, the distance is 1.5 feet to 4 feet, and personal space includes your friends and acquaintances. Your social space includes those who just know, and public space is those you don't know at all and you are encountering when you are just going about your work or traveling somewhere. So this is now specific to USA. Now this will be different for different countries. For example, in India, we have more collectivistic tendencies. So probably we will have a lesser extent of those spaces, in the sense that space that is required in USA in terms of social interaction, that would be lesser in India. Now, what it defines is that this is a part of the culture prevailing in the countries. This will help you define what the work environment you can set up in. For example, whether you can set up whether you need to set up a cubicle-based workspace, or you can have a workspace where there is no cubicle and people sit side by side. You can type different types of products, how your commercial activities you can frame them. All this can be designed. The metaphor here is simply the space that is there within you. Another example is indulgence versus restraint. Now, the map, the diagram that is there on the right side, that shows a distribution in the world how indulgence is relatively characterized. The red regions in the world are where people are more indulgent, and the yellow regions are where people are more restraint oriented. How it will affect you is that if you are say suppose an FMCG company, the amount of luxurious product, the amount of extensiveness of the luxury that you can provide in the product will be determined by the intrinsic nature of the country where you are marketing that product. What kind of work culture can you propagate? All these things, other examples are price mentality and amount of spending. Now, all these things can be linked to the indulgence versus restraint factors. Metaphor here uses size of servings. For example, in America, if you compare it to Europe, the size of a serving of any item would be much larger. That is an example which shows you the difference regarding this parameter. We will go ahead with the managerial context.
So, one of the examples could be the way Samsung. Samsung is one of the biggest multinational firms, and they have many different countries. And we have seen that the organizational culture of Samsung is very heavily influenced by the way the Korean culture is. And due to this, there have been times that there are reported stories of conflict between the Indian employees and the Korean employees of the organization such as Samsung. So, what are some of the differences in the Indian and the Korean culture? So, one of them could be the power. India, as you mentioned, that the space between people is not that high in India, but still power is there are some issues, bureaucracy, and that this all is still prevailing, all of those effects. So you can say that power distance, but in Korea on the other hand, the power distance is very high. So in fact, there was a news about in the 1970s, the Korean airplane, there were a number of accidents in the Korean airlines. And when the black boxes were recorded, it was seen that the flight attendants never really questioned the pilots because they were their seniors. So these are some, and this was very much attributed that due to the reasoning of not questioning, the cultural values of not questioning their seniors, that was another main issue behind that. Then there are issues such as the time orientation in India is very low, while in Korea people are very focused on punctuality and they hold a very high significance to these values. And uncertainty avoidance, Korean wants to avoid the risk and to avoid the uncertainty, and they plan things in future very well ahead. So due to some of these reasons, we've seen that whenever the Korean employees, all the employers, they are trying to get the work done from the Indian employees, there have been multiple issues in the past. So this results in the friction between employer and employees, as we mentioned, and because the performance of Samsung is very much due to the culture of Korea. So when they go to foreign countries, they find that the performance is considerably lower, relatively lower. So some of the measures which can be improved, as we mentioned, if Samsung works towards bridging the gap between these two factors, probably the performance across the organization across these cultures might improve. So how we can employ our framework over here is that if the cultural exchange, if more and more cultural exchange is done between the Korean employees and the Indian employees, this may lead to a bridging of gap between them, and this may eventually lead to much better performance by the organization. So some of the practices which can be followed is that probably a magazine of the Korean practices or monthly magazines could be held or could be showcased in the Indian offices. Some culture shows of Korea could be shown in India. Some of these shows which highlight these values of Korea. For example, very subtly, they can show the importance of time orientation and some of these techniques to the Indian employees. In this way, they signify the importance of these concepts, and this may also lead to reducing the local efficiency, basically improving the skills and all. They can realize this. So, for form content, we can say that the form of this exercise would be the cultural exchange, but the main reason, the content behind it would be to gain profit for the organization and using the best practices of home as well as the local nation to expand the organization as much as possible. That would be it.